Hey everyone, it's Kenlon and welcome to my channel for the full moon in Aquarius at 27 degrees. It's happening on Monday, the 19th of August, and this is big, big geometry. I'm calling it sacred geometry. As a person who has T-squares in my natal chart, I bow to the T-squares. So let's talk about what's happening, and let's also presence a very special archetype that I believe can really help us navigate the changes and the shifts and the challenges that are present inside this geometry, in this sacred geometry. I'm also going to do this video in two parts. So the second part, I'm going to do a card reading for auric types for this full moon. So if you're interested in that, you can hop on that second video. But in this video, what I got present to is that there's an archetype who's waiting for us to support us in walking the pathway through like a dense forest brush, right? Through the darkness, through the unknown. And who is that archetype? The archetype of the High Priestess. Now, if you think about the card, the tarot card, the drawings of the High Priestess, she has a cloak over her head. She's dressed in dark colors as to not attract attention. She's like this witness in the night. She has a lantern in her hand that's lighting the way, but it only lights her next step. It doesn't light the terrain around her. She has no idea if she's on a mountaintop, if she's down in the middle of the forest, if there are animals around, or if there's water around. She doesn't know. She only knows the next right step. And she has to tune in deeply. She has to listen to what's happening. Like when she steps on a branch and it cracks and it causes an animal to move, she listens and she hears. Is it time to wait, or is it time to take that next step? So let's invoke the High Priestess as we move forward into this geometry, the sacred geometry of this double T-square and full moon. And here's the thing, with all of that geometry, we got almost every house playing in your zodiacal wheel. So you think about the rising sign in the first house and you go counterclockwise all around the clock face from that rising sign, and it'll tell you which house, which sign occupies which house. And chances are you're going to have one of, like, there's 8 players, plus we have Pluto in retrograde in Aquarius. So we have a lot going on. So let's first say that the sun is in Leo at 27 degrees, opposing the moon in Aquarius at 27 degrees. Now, the moon is lit up. It's a full moon, so it is illuminating our conscious awareness. So that which has previously been hidden is now illuminated. And normally I think of the High Priestess as a new moon because it's in the darkness, it's in the fertile void. But this has so much unknown to it and so much conflicting geometry that we really have to tune in. And if we don't tune in, we're going to get lost, or we're going to get scattered all over the place, or worse, frustrated, despondent, in despair. It's a very challenging geometry, but challenging geometries produce incredible results, actually, but not at the time, later on. It's really what you do with it. It's how you get aligned to it. And I'm saying that as a person who has lived under T-squares since my birth. So it's the exact T-square that I have. The sun and the moon are opposite. So that's that full moon. Then we have the other opposition in that, forming that T, is Uranus. And this is that great awakener. It's about things in your life happening to wake you up. You could have the channel already inside human design, the channel of shock. It's also known as the channel of the shaman. Shocks occur so that you can wake up. This is what we're doing here. And so let me presence that part of our awakening is to lean into the current of the flow of life. I was sharing this today with some friends. When your life is a lot of letting go, or let's say it's a lot of expenses that are getting revealed, things that maybe you didn't know about, or you didn't take care of, or you thought were handled, and they're coming forward, and you're realizing, oh my God, and it's frustrating you, it's angering you, it's making you afraid. The best way to get alongside of it is to lean into it and realize that there's a time for inflow, there's a time for outflow. And when we are not attached to what time it is on our soul clock, then we can get alongside of it. And I'm talking to myself because, of course, nobody wants those kinds of surprises. And yet, Uranus is in a T-square to the sun and the moon. So the sun is in Leo. That's a really grounding force. It's also a fixed sign. The moon is in Aquarius, opposite. That is an iconoclastic sign, meaning it's about your individuality, your expression. Are you being who you're truly meant to be? That could be another point of that T-square, that things really force your hand where you've been pretending, and the energy is like, no more pretending. So you can see it plays out in many different ways. It's impossible to know, but we just know that that energy, while it may not be comfortable, say it reveals something true, but you didn't want it revealed, ultimately it leads you into being a more authentic version of yourself. And that's really the game that we're playing inside of Earth School. All right. So Aquarius is that fixed air. Leo is fixed fire. And then we have Taurus, Uranus and Taurus playing this game too, and that's fixed earth. So this is a very fire, because think about earth, air, and fire. What happens when you have earth, air, and fire? Well, I'm in California, and I know you have wildfires when you have earth, air, and fire. So that's the kind of energy. It's very dynamic and it's unpredictable. Have you heard that about wildfires? Sometimes you'll hear firefighters say, holy shit, this is unpredictable. We thought it was going this way, but it's now going this way, and we had to pivot. That's the energy that's happening right now. And I think that when we get alongside that, yes, it's happening, and I don't know where it's going to go, but we evoke the High Priestess, we know the next right step, and we're tuning in and listening for that next right step. So that's not all that's happening. Here's why it's so crazy. The next thing that's crazy is we have a mutable T-square. And so we had 4 planets in that mix, because we have also Mercury. I forgot to say that, because Mercury is conjunct the sun. So in that fixed T-square, we have Mercury also in the game, retrograde in Leo, and he's in a cazimi with the sun. It's a Hellenistic term, in the heart of the sun. So Mercury retrograde is being lit up. So that means that there's some kind of a redo, something from the past. The spotlight is there to do it over, to make a new decision, to make a new choice around it. And maybe that Uranian awakening will inform that new choice. I mean, it could go in so many ways, but just so that you're aware that there's a lot of fixed signs that don't like change. So the part of us that doesn't like change, because we all have each of the signs in one of the houses in the zodiac wheel, even if there are no planets there, we have signs. And so we're being affected, like those 4 areas, those fixed signs are being affected. All right. Now we go to that mutable T-square, and that mutable T-square is where Saturn and Jupiter are in an opposition. And we're going to feel this a lot because it's also personal planets. Like Uranus is an outer planet, Pluto's an outer planet, Neptune is an outer planet. Neptune's still 29 degrees Pisces, by the way. So that's also this letting go, this completion energy that we've been in for quite a while. Now we're in the energy of massive change, massive shakeup, like a snow globe. And so Saturn, the Lord of restriction, the Lord of paying your debts, karma, is in opposition to the Lord of expansion. So we're going to want to expand, but then we're going to contract. So think about it, expansion and contraction. Where does that happen? Well, it happens in breathing. Where else does it happen? It happens in having a baby. Think about that. The uterus expanding and contracting. So these energies are not bad energies. They're just catalytic. Like, we don't want to be having a baby every single day, right? We want to have a baby and then be done with it, because we can only handle so much expansion and contraction. Otherwise, our body goes through the ringer, our mind goes through the ringer. But just imagine, for now, we're in the labor process. We're expanding and contracting, because we want to birth something. Our soul wants to birth something. And only the High Priestess knows what it is. Only she can tell, because she's tuned in. She's not tuned in to the craziness around her. She's tuned into herself. That's where the locus of everything is. So I'm just going to presence briefly, because there's a lot of astrology out there and you can read that. I'm just wanting to tie it to the High Priestess archetype so that you can navigate. Now, the second T square is Saturn Pisces. And then we have Venus and Mars playing in this game as well. So Venus is in Virgo, Mars is in Gemini, and Venus is opposing Saturn. That leaves the divine feminine feeling like she had a setback. She was overruled in some way. So that could be the case, because we're certainly seeing a lot of patriarchy reeling its ugly head out there. But again, the High Priestess, she doesn't put her attention there, because she knows that she can lose temporarily because she's going to win the big game. That's what she's in for, winning the big game. And that means winning for everyone, because that's the divine feminine. But she's holding the line on the end result, not on the circumstances, like a tug of war. Is it over here? Is it over here? Is it over here? No, she's holding the end of there is no more tug of war. God bless the divine feminine, right? Okay, so we've got Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, and Mars all together in this mutable square. Mutable is adaptable, changeable. It's etheric. It's highly, highly creative. So think about it that way. Now, the opposition in this energy is, I want to expand. And then the obstacles of saying, well, maybe it's crickets. Maybe no one's responding to your expansion. Maybe you're applying for all these jobs and you get none of it. Maybe you're putting it out there to get all these clients and you're getting none of it. You've got to be like the High Priestess, playing the long game. Do not care. Keep your drishti on where you're going, because the seeds that you're planting now will sprout later. Do not look for immediate results. So I'll end here and say, lastly, that what I'm noticing among people that I've been in conversation with and myself is that we're using this energy where the energy wants to be used. And I'm finding personally, it's very Virgo energy. And that Virgo energy is planning. I've already gotten through 2025 planned. And that came spontaneously. I am generally not a planner. I don't like to plan because I don't know. I'm highly mutable. I don't know what is coming up next. However, the energy is here to do that for me. So what's the energy here for you to do? Tune in, know it, go below that, because it might be my energy is here to take a nap. Well, okay, take a nap and then you get up, and then what? You will know when you sink deeper into that High Priestess energy, what is the best use of your time right now, so that you're not going against the flow, but you're actually using the energy of these squares, of this sacred geometry, to move yourself forward. And we look back on it in months to come, maybe weeks to come, but probably more months to come. And we'll be like, wow, that's where things changed. That's where I got committed. That's where I got devoted. That's where I started trusting myself. That's where I started to be authentic because I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I just have to be authentic. I just have to be me. I'm going to stop pretending or stop asking for permission, whatever it is. That's high priestess energy. Tune in and you'll know the next steps. All right. Be well. We can do this. Sending you lots of love and grace.